Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be going over the fourth episode of the Python Pygame series. In this episode I'm going to be going over character movement as well as how to implement that into the game. So first what we want to do is of course add our character image into the, actually I'm going to call this player equals, as we talked about earlier, pygame.image.load, and I have it here as graphics. It's in the graphics folder / player.png. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is introduce a new topic, which is rectangles. So what rectangles do, it helps you position better as well as involve collisions, which we are gonna need in this program. So to get this rectangle, I'm just gonna type player_rect. You can call this whatever you want. This is what I'm going to call it. And then I'm going to do player.getRect. Now in here, I want this player. Now here you put in the position that you want the player to go to. Here I want the player to go on top of the ground. So I want the bottom of the player. Let's say bottom left. We'll say mid bottom. I want the mid bottom of this player to go on 100, 300. Now 100 is just where it is on the ground, and then 300 would be like it being on the ground, because as you can see the ground here is also on 300. So you can, here I used mid bottom, and you can use anything else. Here's a quick example. You could use top left, mid top, top right, and so on. Mid bottom is here. I use mid bottom because it'd be most useful for this example. Next, what I'm going to do is blit this on the screen right after we blit the ground. Blit, as you can see, is just displaying it on the screen as we went over in the last video. Now I do blit. And now, first we put in the player. Then we put in, instead of the location is already in the rectangle, so we just put player_rect. After this, we can just run this, and this is just the final game. If you run this, you see that the player is on the ground and it's ready. Next up, I'm going to add the movements of the player. So for the movement, what you're going to do is first we're going to have to detect if the user is clicking the space button or the left arrow or the right arrow, because those are the three keys that we will be using for this game. So first, to detect that, we go into while loop, and then in this for event loop, we can do if event dot type is equal to pygame dot key down. Then we go in this loop. Now what this does is if detects if there was just a key pressed or not. Now we can do if event dot key, not event, event dot key is equal to p dot p equal to pygame dot k space. So what this does, it detects, I'll just put pass in here, detects if the space key was pressed. Now what we want to do is if the user presses the space key, we want the character to jump. How we're going to implement that is by using gravity. And now for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to here create a gravity variable. I'm going to add 0. So what gravity essentially does, it pushes our player down, 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 so it stays on the ground. So here I'm going to type player rectangle dot y. This controls the y like aspect of the player, like how high it is on the screen, and I'm going to add gravity to this. Right now, you can see if I run this, this does nothing, and the player just stays where it is because we're not changing the value of gravity, and it's just 0. So here, I'm going to put gravity plus equals 1 constantly. Now, if I run this, you can see the player just goes down, down, down continuously. Now, what we want to do is keep the player on the ground. So we're going to say if player rect dot y is equal so we never want the player to go below the ground. So for that, what we're gonna do is do player rect dot bottom is greater than 300. Then what we want to do is we want this to reset back to player rect dot bottom, reset it back to 300. Bottom equal to 300. Now as you can see, if we run this, our player just stays where it is, because if it goes, it can't go down, because it says if player rect dot bottom, which is the bottom of the player, is below 300, just set it back to 300. Now back into our dot space function, we can just here have gravity equal to -20. Now if we run this, you can see there's nothing changes, but if you click space, our player is indeed jumping now. Because what this does, it is changes the gravity to -20, and then the player goes up, and then as the gravity resets back, it slowly comes back down. So that was it for this video. In the next video, we will be doing the arrow keys functions and adding that into the game, and then I will be adding the obstacles, which will be snails. So stay tuned for those. I'll catch you in the next one. Be sure to like, subscribe. Peace.